Cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the...
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
And best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right cause I roll my sleeves.
What up? What up? What up, world? We are back. I'm Anthony, aka Rasta, and this is Get Right Fantasy Network. We are only a few days away from real football, man, like 30 or something days. I'm not even looking at the show notes. We had preseason Hall of Fame game yesterday, canceled by rain. What else is better than that? Just to even make you feel like it's even a better taste of it. I'm here with my boys, Classic Mike. Classic, it feels like it's been forever. Right. How you doing, my guy?
Good, man. Excited to be back. For me, I can't wait. I get to go to the Fantasy Football Expo.
Let's go.
Less than 5 days.
I was gonna say.
We're headed up to. We're going to Cleveland first on Wednesday. Then we're going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Thursday. Then going, right from that, we're going right to Canton, and then staying the night. And then the next day is Hall of Fame day, going there, and then we're going to have the party at the expo and so on and so forth, getting to meet a bunch of people. Really excited. I'm in the expo group chat.
Jelly.
Oh, dude, really, really excited. So can't wait for that.
Let's go, man. We're also joined by our boy, one of the newest members here to the Get Right Fantasy Network, our boy Kendall from over at the Fantasy Football Tavern. Kendall, thanks for joining us here on this Friday, this momentous occasion, one of your first semifinal round mocks. How you doing, my guy?
I'm pumped. I decided semifinal. We're doing a tournament. We came correct.
Yeah, I saw you dressed up for this one. I had to bring out the hardwares, as you guys can see, for this momentous occasion. We have the reigning champ in the mock tonight, and somehow he grabbed the 101 in the randomized draft spot. So this should be very, very interesting. I know these guys are excited. So let me put this hardware down. Let's get this out of the way. So we'll keep this shoulder going. I just need this shoulder free to get this thing going. So we're gonna get this mock going, man. So before we do, for those folks who are new to Get Right Fantasy Network, maybe this is your guys' first time checking us out. Classic, why don't you tell the folks what we got going on here, what we've been doing during the off season, and what we have coming up here in season, since we're getting so close, and I'll get this thing started.
All right. So, right as you see, we are on every Friday night. We are going to be doing our mocks every Friday night. Right now, for the end of August, we're basically going to be doing the semifinal rounds for our Mock Draft Tournament of Champions. So you get to see this. The first one, we're going to be doing three more, and then we're going to be doing the championship itself. Mondays, we're going to be announcing the top three that are advancing to the mock finale, and we're going to give our mock draft grades and breakdowns and suggestions and all that fun stuff. On Monday, you're going to have Ant, Frank, or Kendall or Phil. Someone will be there to break down your guys' particular teams at the very end. Either way, and I know, if I remember correctly, Kendall also does something. I know are you doing it Tuesday still?
So I'm going to try to live stream as many of the pods as I physically can. I think me and Phil are pretty locked into at least Wednesdays. I didn't do a live stream, but I did do a recording of the Thursday show. It was just a little easier, so I couldn't give spoilers away. So if I wanted to talk about things I liked and didn't like while it was happening, it made for a pretty good vid. But I'll be streaming, and whatever I don't stream, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a video on each and every one of the drafts, breaking it down. So if you're watching and you didn't make it and you want to know, hey, kind of what did we look for in those that did advance? How did we kind of break down the draft and why? That will be coming shortly.
Nice. So we're going to have that. When we start in season, so after week 1, we're going to be here Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and of course on Sunday as well. Mondays, we're going to be breaking down the week and, getting you guys ready with waiver wire targets and so forth. What? Continue.
No, go ahead.
No. Keep going.
No, you're right. I'm behind. I was taking off hardware and doing all that stuff. So I'll let you're the pro. You go ahead. This is classic Mike show. I'm just living in your world over here, my guy.
There you go. So Mondays, like I said, we're going to go over waiver wire targets, some, players to target, things like that. Then we're going to do buy sell, structuring on Wednesdays, to get your Rasta right.
Hey, I like that.
See, yeah. So we're going to do that on Wednesdays. That will be with Dan and Frank. Or, of course, Phil and Kendall are always welcome as well. Then we're going to have our Friday night show, which is going to be full breakdowns of every game that's going on during that particular week. We're going to try to limit that show a lot. And then from there on Sunday mornings, I'm going to be there to give you actives and inactives to make sure to help you guys with last-minute lineup decisions as well. Jeff, I love it. Can't wait to go to Cleveland. It should be fun. We're only going to be there for a day, but it should be fun. Either way, it's going to be a good old 9-hour car drive for me. So you guys check us out. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're really excited for this season to get things going and doing everything again. I mean, this is that time of year, man. We're ramped up. We're almost there 4 times a week. It's going to be fun. Or yeah, basically 4 times a week.
Yeah, 4 times. Let's go.
We're not like the bowlers that can go 5 days, but we can definitely do 4.
Yeah, we can squeeze. We need a day or 2 here to regroup things and make sure home life is still good. Yeah. See, I had to flash that there for my guy Neanderthal. He was in the league with this ring, but Neanderthal was our 1,000 subscriber winner, and he has one of these rings himself.
Yes, sir.
He actually has this specific ring. Classic might beat me to it. I'm on a different page. No, but our boy Neanderthal in here. Oh, see, right on the same time. He actually has this ring in his possession right now. So we'll throw that up for you, Neanderthal, winner of our 1,000 subscriber giveaway. I think we're sitting at like 1181 right now. So the quicker we get to 2,000, we'll give out another 2,000 subscriber ring. So
come on, we got to do little increments here.
No, we gotta get this thing growing, man. We gotta get this thing growing. So help us get to 2,000 guys. So there we go. So yeah, man. So again, this isn't just a regular mock that we're doing here tonight. Like the title said, this is our mock draft tournament of champions. This is our first week here this year. It's our 4th year doing it. We've had qualifying mocks ran all week. These are the top 3 from each one of those mocks that are drafting here tonight for their opportunity to advance to the finale for their chance to win $50 cash. I think I might have just took that read from you, Kindle, so I do apologize. But basically just come and show up, mock your team, make sure you get in the lobbies, be part of Get Right, know some of us, how to get to these lobbies and get in these mock drafts. You can only enter 1 time per week, so it's kind of exclusive. It's not just the same people every night trying to get in. We had 48 different drafters this week. Actually more, because some people on standby and couldn't get back in because you don't show up. We have to replace you because we want to start on time. Unfortunately, no auto picks in this one here. If you do auto 2 times consecutively, you will be disqualified. But other than that, man, you're just trying to mock the best team you can. And we found that, most folks that, kind of watch our stream and know kind of what we like and our takes and our builds, they're the ones I think naturally that kind of have the advantage and do well. But I can tell you just from looking at the darn spreadsheet that we have, we're all over the place. Like all 6 of us are all over the place. We're all looking at different things. Even someone like Phil and I, who kind of are looking at the same things. Even he and I are fairly different on some of these.
Which is kind of crazy because you guys are more like similar than me.
Right.
So it's quite funny seeing everybody's, the way that everyone drafts. It's kind of funny. There was only one team, if I remember correctly, that had, they had 3 that they had 3 top 2 picks. And that was yours, mine, and Frank's like top 2. And I was,
actually on Tuesday, JWN, who's in this one here, I think he's the leader right now. He actually had four first place finishes. Me, Phil, Kindle, and you all gave him a first place. Frank gave him a second place, and Tycoon gave him a fourth place. So he's the first one to score on all 6 judges' scorecards, and he has the highest score of the week. And he is drafting here in the 8th spot, which is kind of what I've heard people say.
I love that.
They say that we're favoring this 7, 8, 9 spot, interestingly enough. So that's kind of some of the feedback I've got from some of the chats and people analyzing these results, which to me is just awesome, man. Like, people are going back, checking these things out. So yeah, there he is, man. So
hey, man, you gotta do it.
Yeah, man. So you're in the spot. You have the highest score already. So we're expecting nothing but great things from you. And I can tell you with the start, like JJ and Drake London and a 3 wide receiver, it's pretty good spot. You're sitting pretty good already. So let's see how it happens. Exactly.
This pick determines it. Always the third round. The third round is probably one of the fun. Like, the third round determines a lot of different, scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what he does here.
It does. So I want to turn it over here to the newest person here to this mock draft tournament. Our boy Kindle. He hasn't been able to participate on the other side of it. He came in directly as a judger. I guess technically, Classic, you and I have never participated in this either. Which is probably the worst downfall about this. Everyone's like, this is so awesome. And it's like, we'll never be able to have a chance to be in it. So maybe we'll have to do something where we just do a mock and we have the viewers rank our teams or something like that, just to get our little fix. But Kindle, from your perspective, what is what have you kind of noticed, from these mocks? Kind of what's one of your takeaways, or, just how do you feel kind of just about this tournament in general? Just kind of from, again, someone newer coming across it from the first time, like when you heard about it and saw what we're doing, kind of what are your takeaways from it?
Yeah, so I guess I've got 2 main takeaways. One, I think this is really great prep, because if you're sort of playing to sort of a judge's sort of opinion, right? You can kind of say, hey, if I have sort of a way I think is sort of an accurate way to run a draft board, it's how well can I play to that particular strategy in a particularly effective way. So it's a good way to practice, especially finding builds that are maybe slightly against your own rankings and seeing how it kind of plays out. I think that's pretty interesting. Watching the drafts break down themselves, though, watching as many pods as I have and kind of seeing the tendencies, I think everyone here is pretty skilled. When we've done our Friday night mocks, I was very impressed with the skill level. I'm a mock draft grinder. I am. I spend a lot of my free time.
That's why we connected, my guy.
Exactly. That is specifically how we got connected. You are not wrong there. So I like the high level of competition. So it's fun for me to be able to break down, hey, this is a really good litmus test for what real redraft leagues are going to feel like. In sort of I'm reading some flow charts here. The biggest takeaway for me is that, and then when you're forced to vote, right? You're really putting your own rankings and draft strategy sort of to the test, because when you're in a competitive mock, and I think we were in our group chat, we were discussing how some of these were if we were grading from 0 to 100, there would be 5 or 6 players within 4 or 5 points. I mean, extremely thin margins. But overall, if I had to throw one draft trend that I think I would definitely want to tell the future weeks, it's that the dead zone, for the people that invest in the dead zone running backs a little bit earlier, it's very easy when you're looking at a full draft board to see, hey, whoever didn't invest in the dead zone starting in the 6th round, approximately that 6-7 range, the quality and tier break from that range to the at least 9, maybe 10, at least 8, 9 for sure, show about a 2-round drop. The quality doesn't seem to drop off very much, and I was significantly liking the teams that waited just an extra round or 2 past the dead zone, kind of taking the bottom of that tier and having a much bigger tier break at some other, what I would view as more important spots. And importantly, if you're targeting the dead zone, if you just kind of like it, right? And sometimes it's a contrarian way of saying, hey, this is a good way to win at running back potentially. If I'm just tiered out as maybe this tier is actually okay. the thing that I was noticing in particular, the rookies that we see a lot of high upside in, and the year 2 breakouts, your Jaden Reeds, and then the entire rookie class typically goes around where the dead zone backs go, or maybe around afterwards. I like targeting a lot of those players. Particularly guys like Keon Coleman, who sure there's some risk there, but there's a lot of opportunity there. Yeah. Or Lad, right? Who doesn't love a little Lad in their life? If you invest in the dead zone, you're not really getting those players. Rasta, I know you're a big Jaden Reed guy, right? It's very hard to invest in like a Najee Harris and go get a Jaden Reed because they typically go in about the same round. So that's what I'm avoiding, and that's, I think, going to shape how I orchestrate my drafts a little bit going forward.
For sure. No, I like that take and that perspective. And yeah, I kind of found myself, I'm starting to realize that, I'm just loving the hero RB builds, man. I love the people that are able to, find that kind of anchor running back that can kind of just anchor that team. I like having just 4 solid pass catchers. Obviously, you want like 1 high end and like 3 other guys. You want to fill that flex spot through the PPR. And then I wanted at least the solid or upside type wide receiver also kind of first on the bench. And then I like seeing those folks that, obviously in between all that, you try to grab that at least a top 6 type, quarterback. I found myself not liking the guys who really wait so much kind of past like Kyler Murray. I would kind of call that teardrop right there. Even though you can say they're getting a ton of value, waiting for someone like Trevor Lawrence in the 13th, right? Like, okay, yeah, that's value. But like, you're not competing with someone who took Lamar, regardless of where, of where you took them, you know what I mean? So, so those are the kind of things that, I find myself liking. And I've really started realizing that I'm liking the people who are taking like one of these 5 or 6 top tight ends as well. And I'm liking the ones that are taking kind of the ones that are taking the like 4th and 5th guy, whoever that tends to be, even if it's like the Pitts or the, Kincaid or, someone like that. Again, just depending on who they're building, with the rest of their wide receiver core. So, it's interesting, and I'm seeing a lot of people also, and it's kind of happened here a little bit, what we kind of see as well. People kind of hit that spot where they want to knock out those onesie positions, like a Hurts and Kincaid here, and Josh Allen and McBride. I've kind of noticed like there was one mock we did where it was like the quarterback tight end, like just around shifted and around, down and kind of like a little staircase, if that makes sense, when you were looking at it. So I noticed we kind of had that from like the middle positions there. And I definitely found that I kind of, am starting to be fond of teams that are built from like the, probably the 3, like maybe the 3 and 4 spot, and then like that 6, 7, 8. Like it feels like most of my teams that I'm ranking higher are kind of in those ranges. So I feel like that's kind of like that player pool that I personally feel most comfortable with, the guys who are available in those type of picks. And then sometimes like a 10 or 11 spot will surprise me as well too, if they do it well. And those are the teams that are typically, zagging while everyone else is zigging. So if they're able to pull that off, correctly, like for example, like Notar here in the 11 spot, with Wilson, Barkley, Kelsey, and Pickens, might have been a little early for Kelsey. Like I would have loved Devonta Smith on this team. Instead of maybe Kelsey and then Pickens, but like he would have not had a tight end, because again we're right here at this teardrop with Pitts going off the board here at the 5-7. But even if like Kittle would have made it on this team with Smith and Pickens, like I might have liked that, just a bit more. So we're just talking like a little difference in kind of draft spot. But again, that's just because some of the risk that comes with Kelsey, but obviously the upside's there as well. We see him going here as the tight end 2. Off the board in the 3rd. And if you're talking about getting Kelsey in the 3rd in the last like 4 years, that would have just been blasphemy. I mean, this is a guy who was at one point in half PPR, being drafted as high as like a 106. Like you could literally make arguments for it the last 2 years, maybe not last year, but the 2 years previous, for having someone like that there. So I think there's some interesting Kelsey value this year. So I'm very interested to see how that just kind of plays out in general, just as a football fan. If you can just have that 2020 hindsight and see, what happens. So that's something, I'm very interested in. And then we see your boy right here, Kendall go off the board, and Anthony Richardson here in the 6th round as the QB5, which I'm sure you like overall here. And it is 6 point per passing touchdown. So those are just kind of some of my quick takeaways here from the qualifying mocks, things that I'm kind of looking at, and the builds that have caught my eye. So what about you, Classic? What's your takeaway here so far in the first four qualifying rounds?
So for me, I mean, I always am a little bit more of a proponent for robust RB or hero RB or something in that realm. I've kind of moved into a little bit more of your old philosophy there, Rasta, with the more wide receivers. But for me, it's quality receivers. I don't want a group of guys that are a bunch of risk. Like I don't want to see a ton of risk when it comes to certain things. I'm a very conservative player, but at the same time, I know where there's risk, where there it is, boom, bust, all that stuff. I want to see a little bit of everything, because if you pick a guy, let's just say, just at this point, if you're drafting as of today, and you draft a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, who was just, we just had news that he's going to be out for at least 4 to 6 weeks. I don't want to see him and a guy that's currently coming back from an ACL tear like Jonathan Brooks, or I don't want to see a mix mosh of injured players that you're unsure of.
Or
guys like I don't want a whole team of TJ Hawkinson, Jonathan Brooks, and Hopkins, and then a bunch of other guys added to that too. Like, I don't want that type of team. That team I'm automatically out on, because I don't want to have like that type of mock. Just scares the living shit out of me. Now, in a dynasty league, hell, I like that group, because it's players and we can move on. This is redraft. We have to think with that. It's only this season. So, I tend to stick with
Albert. Sorry, I had to say what's up to Albert, man. He's like on like 70 consecutive shows or more. So
gotta be
at least he's in the hundreds. So what's up, Albert? How's it going, brother?
Since I've been on it, so he's definitely been there forever. So it's always great to see Albert. But I want to see him with consistency, with a little bit of upside on it as well. I don't, I'm definitely going to give credit to those that are doing, trying to do some type of zero RB build, or I wouldn't say zero QB build, but like a value QB in this particular case. I'll definitely give credit where credit is due. I'm going to look at everything. I always try to find the little nuances. I'm definitely higher on some guys than you guys might, so it's a fun, this was definitely, I always love this time of year, when we're doing this, because it gives me an opportunity to kind of see how teams are going to fall and where everything is going to be. For general ADP, and I really enjoy it. Right now I'm seeing a lot of good teams. I'm seeing a lot of teams, where everyone's build is kind of unique, but it's coming up with something pretty nice at the same time. So I'm really excited for this weekend to kind of look over these teams real closely, and get a little bit of a perspective, because these are really, I mean, I'm looking at 2 or 3 teams that I'm like, holy crap, I'm really happy with the start, but now they're starting to get into that, I don't know. So
you make a good point there, because I think a lot of people are able to draft like the first 5 or 6 rounds, maybe even the 7th round, kind of where we are right now. And like their first 5 or 6 picks, like you look at their starters, and it's like, boom, like, oh, this is going to be my first place team. And then you look at like rounds, 8 through 13, and you're just like, what happened? So it doesn't correlate with the starters that you have. And to me, I think the bottom of your draft needs to correlate properly with the top half of your draft. So, if you're drafting guys, if you're in a hero RB or even zero RB build, then you should have someone like maybe Nick Chubb as someone who you're taking later, because you want that guy, later on that could kind of potentially be that RB1 that you get super late if he does come back. Like, that's kind of the risk you need to assume, but you need to be pretty solid at all those other positions to be able to absorb that risk, like you were kind of talking about earlier. And then on the flip side of that, Like if I see like, Ralph Danis in here with McCaffrey and Henry, like this team better not have Nick Chubb on it. Like that's not someone you want to go. To me, that's kind of like a wasted pick. You want to go with, just some other type of, backs there, like a Tajay Spears, Jalen Warren. Like those are the type of backs I'm looking to accompany, two running backs like that you can get, kind of later, because he invested so much draft capital in the top half there in his first 2 picks. Like we shouldn't see another running back on his team, for a while. You got to fill out and make up, that difference there. So, just little things like that, that you kind of want to take in. And it's fun to see, how people build these teams. And when you're not in the mock, yourself, and you're looking at these 12 different teams, and, my biggest thing is like, okay, if this was an orphan league and all these teams and I had first pick at one of these teams, I just look at it as which one am I going with first?
Yeah.
Which one has the least amount of flaws? Yeah. That I feel like I can do something with. So, so just that's kind of like our perspective for you guys that are wondering, how we're grading these things, what we're looking at, personally. So that's what I'm looking at, is that correlation within the team, make that bottom half of the draft match what you're doing in the top half. And if you don't know what that means, then you're probably not in this mock, right now. A lot of it does have to do, of course, with the randomized draft positions, which I think is a unique part of our tournament here. We randomize the draft, just a few minutes before to keep everybody on their feet. And sometimes it's just the luck of the draw. Sometimes just depending on the room that you're in with the people around you, you can make every correct pick and just still not have one of the top teams, just because that's just how the cookie crumbled. So,
and also remember for those that are watching, always remember that for these mock drafts are to help you for your real one. And the thing is, when you're doing these teams, let's just say we took one of these teams and played it during the year. It doesn't mean that team's actually going to do well. I had my home league that I love. It's been my home league for 15 plus years. We did our teams last year. We drafted everything. We have keepers, so on and so forth. I looked at it and I actually gave it to other people to look at. And I'm like, guys, I want you to pick the team that you think won the whole thing from the draft itself. And everybody picked this one team, and I asked them, like, so what place do you think this guy finished? And they all said first. He finished last. The guy that he finished last. So you're not going to win everything off of your drafted team. There's so many things that could be, that come up in the year that you have to be ready for. And of course, that's what we're here for. We're going to help you guys get through that part of it. But like, for sure, I showed them the same exact draft and they looked at everything. I'm like, which team do you think was last place? And they picked the team that ended up winning the whole damn thing. So you're never going to win this. This is just, you're not going to win from your draft. You have to just set it up for success. You got to build the foundation. Like Rasta was saying before, you have to have the top correlate with the bottom to make it work. If I'll give an example, and I know he's listening, so it's a little bit difficult to do because I don't want you to screw up what you're doing. But we're almost done. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till he's done.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've been trying to only comment on stuff that's happened already. It is tough because we don't want to give. Yeah, we don't want to give any advantages to anybody. Yeah, but we don't want to let them know how to finish it out. So I might have even gone too far with even Danis's team there. Yeah. But with that said, Vince is saying, it's that's me in this mock. The 12th spot is rough in a 3 wide receiver. So he went with the Zag approach, with the 2 running backs, not looking bad. I think it was a gift that he had Reed fall to him. I don't know why AB is King went with McLaurin, but you guys know I haven't liked McLaurin in a few years. But so to me, Reed falling as that wide receiver 3 and then getting A-Rich there might have saved his draft a little bit there. And then I don't know if he picked up Warren because he heard me saying what Dennis was doing, or Ralph Dennis was doing over here. So he might have snagged him to make sure he didn't get him in the 8th. So I can't be table talking like that. Right. So I'll throw this over to you, Kendall, because Mike and I have kind of been dominating the airwaves here for a second. Amon-Ra, St. Brown, or Jamar Chase this year. He's leaning Amon-Ra. Kendall, where do you lean in one of the biggest questions in one of these top 5 wide receivers? Or just tell us, what would you open up the bag a little bit here, and might be a preview to a episode coming up soon. But what are your top 5 wide receivers? How do you have those guys laid out right now? And has it changed?
Hasn't really changed for me, mostly because a lot of how I'm doing like my first round wide receivers, I'm really trusting. I think it's there's a little bit of a trap to just saying like I've watched this guy play, I love the talent, I love all these things, right? Oftentimes I have to go back and actually stat the team out, look at, I often go and look at what are like the Vegas sort of over-unders for the key players in the offense, and how does Vegas sort of say the offense is going to be, because I don't think I can beat them pretty consistently. I want to use that as sort of my foundation, right? Then I'm going to tweak some percentages and kind of say, hey, my own individual take is that this is a little higher or lower, but I'm going to look at what I think the range of outcomes is for the team offensive output, and then compare what comes up in the pure projections versus my player take. Right? And when I do that, Ja'Marr Chase is just consistently a slam dunk over Amon-Ra. That doesn't make Amon-Ra a bad pick. It just means by my process, I have Ja'Marr Chase, statted out to be a little bit better. And when I look at just the individual outcomes of how that could function, simply put, I look at the running back game, and if you just stat out like how many touchdowns do I project for Moss and Chase Brown? What's the target share? How's that going to go down? Right. A healthy Burrow, right? Most quarterbacks don't always get injured. I know we had a lot of injuries last year. That was an aberration. So I think what you're going to see offensive output is going to go up this year. It was very down last year, specifically because we started like 60 some quarterbacks in the NFL. That's 66. An aberration. Yeah,
our boy Phil over at Extra Point. Shout out to Phil with that stat all off season.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when you look at like, okay, if that doesn't happen, offensive output is certainly going to go up, and Ja'Marr Chase is, I think, one of the primary beneficiaries of that normalizing, and Burrow kind of returning to the mean, and also just how they're going to use the run game versus the pass game. I think Ja'Marr Chase is pretty great there. I also have a lot of faith, and I'm doing a lot of drafting of Gibbs. I think Monty's still fine. That offensive line is absolutely elite. I don't think that them having the touchdowns that they did last year at the running back game, that wasn't sort of an aberration, right? I think that is more consistent. It's how you're going to draw it up.
It's top 3.
And if Williams really is coming along, there's no reason that he shouldn't take some of the touchdowns off the board from Amon-Ra with some of those chunk plays that are going to get him there. And those chunk plays are usually going to lead to either him scoring a touchdown or getting into an area where Laporta or Gibbs have a higher percentage chance than Amon-Ra. I actually think Amon-Ra's touchdown total probably comes down a little bit, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Interesting. What about you, Classic? Which way you go?
So I was just working on my rankings prior to the show because I've been lacking and trying to get on it, but I've been working on it. Talented wise, I mean, there's right now Amon-Ra is in a spot where he doesn't really have too many people that are behind him to take up and, consolidate targets. I mean, he's got Laporta, he's got JMO. That's pretty, and then Gibbs, so he's in a good spot. With Ja'Marr, he's got a little bit more of with T. Higgins. He's, they don't really have a pest, they have Chase Brown, who I really do like as well, but they don't really have anybody else other than, I can't pronounce the guy's name.
Ilyasovas or something like that.
Say it again, Kendall said it.
I think it's Ilyasova.
There you go. That's way easier than I was trying to do.
And they also just drafted, Burton as well. Jermaine Burton. They have a really good amount of pass catchers there. So there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Chase to me has always been a little bit more boom bust, in my opinion. I understand his stats don't prove that, but a lot of his stuff has been boom or bust when you look at it. Amon-Ra is a little bit more steady, but he's much more consistent with what he does. So for me, I like Amon-Ra a little bit better than Chase, but I'm not saying either or is bad. I mean, you can't go wrong with either one of those guys. For me, it's a little bit more. I lean a little bit more Amon-Ra than I would Chase.
I think it's closer in a typical redraft format. I think it's much closer than like best ball.
Oh,
But
best ball, I'm going Chase. Yeah.
But so when you look at the logic, right, we're going with Chase over Amon-Ra in best ball because we know the elite
Yoshi
ceiling
Bust.
case for
There
there we go, Yoshi Bust. All right, cool. You know what? I'm gonna
Appreciate you,
have to
Vince.
make up like
So,
a
Our guy
nickname
from
for him.
Australia
no.
coming in hard right there. Let's go.
Little side note. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Kendall. If you ever want that particular list of people, I actually have it. I have a buddy that my buddy Dustin Ludick. He is very, very involved and has all those names like the how to pronounce and so on and so forth. Let me know. I can get it for you.
Nice.
I feel like whenever
Gotta
I have
get
the
that.
like I can't pronounce this name or I'll learn it, but I'll keep going back to whatever I
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
said
yeah,
the first
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Like I just
Yeah.
have to give him a
A-Chain.
nickname, and that's just what we're going with, you know.
I was gonna say I'm still stuck with A-Chain and A-Chain. I listened back to like one of the last shows we did, and I swear I just
Yeah,
kept
yeah.
switching back and forth every other time.
Yep.
A-Chain, whichever it is. Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
interesting. So go ahead. Do you even remember what you were talking about there, or what?
Yeah. So we take
Yoshi
Chase pretty
Bosch.
consistently over Amon-Ra in best ball because we think the elite ceiling outcome is clearly in Chase's favor. Where, like you said, Amon-Ra has that more consistency, right? Well,
Yeah.
if I'm in a competitive league and I think I'm going to not need, but I think it is whoever wins the title is probably someone that has one of those ceiling outcome cases or more ceiling outcome cases than the other team, right? Fantasy football is a top end sport, right? You know, most of the money is going to first and second, getting third place in your league. Well, in most competitions, that's a nice bronze medal. In fantasy, that's just not how the payout structure works. And so when it comes to if I get to the playoffs, if I make a deep run, I'm much happier going into the finals with Jamar Chase versus an Amon St. Brown because I think the game winning upside and being able to correlate that is a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man. I was just spoiled, man. In week 17, his rookie year, having Chase as my 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Week 17 championship game, 44.6 points. I'll take that all day. I've been hooked ever since. Jamar Chase is my guy. Try to get him in every dynasty league that I have. I'll overpay to have someone like that. I don't think we've seen even close to a ceiling yet, even with his wide receiver 5 finish that rookie year. Even though they've taken away kind of some more of the big plays because they realize they got to take away the big play or else he'll just wreck you if you don't. But because of that, we've seen his targets increase year over year. Hitting finally just 100 targets for the first time last year. And I think only 16 games. So, I mean, can you imagine if this guy's getting like DeAndre or Devontae Adams type target share? Like what he can do in this offense, like next year once Higgins is gone, which I'm sure we all assume is going to happen. So to me, he's like one of my highest buys in fantasy right now. Like I would easily pay like 2 firsts plus like an upcoming Lad McConkey and 2 firsts like for Jamar Chase like all day. Let me get this guy on my team because I think after next year he's going to be literally as much as he's untouchable right now. Like he's going to be the wide receiver 1 over there. In Cincinnati, one of my favorite wide receivers right now, just his upside, obviously barring any type of injury or anything like that. But give me Jamar Chase, man. Even though I love Amon-Ra after watching receiver and everything like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that just like you love dudes like that, so you can't go wrong. I mean, if you have one of those top picks, but yeah, if you're on the clock like with pick 4, I mean, I have to go Jamar Chase, man.
But see here's my thing, and this is what I'm talking about. So I'm looking at his particular game log from last season. Now I understand Joe Burrow's not there for a good part of it, and whatever you want to say.
He had
about
thrown
that.
to him and still finishes wide receiver 12. Come on.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's not the point. No, he finishes 13. But anyway, the whole point. Well, no, wait. What am I doing here? Oh, it's standard. Yeah. So then he finished 12. 13, 12, 11, whatever. Anyway, the whole point I'm trying to make is for the game log that he had, if you look at his particular stats for full PPR, now full PPR, he did great. Half PPR standard, forget about it. But overall, he did 9, 8, 26, 14, 52, 14, 25, 8, 23, 9, 12.
It's my kind of guy.
31. Like things like that annoy me.
He'll win you weeks. He'll win you weeks. I'm going for upside.
But
you're either first or last.
Then you have a guy like Amon-Ra 19, 14, 19, 16, 30, 23, 16, 30, 21, 18, 12. He had 1 week outside of double-digit numbers in full PPR, and 24, 28, 21, 20, 27 in the last week, and then put up good numbers during the playoffs. My whole point is that I rather have the consistency of that, and
Classic
he did
Mike.
it. Hey, you can call me.
Live up to the brand.
I am living up to the brand. The guy didn't have anything less than 7 targets in his, or sorry, 6 targets all season long. And in Chase's particular situation, he had the same thing.
A couple games with 4 targets, but yeah.
Yeah. He didn't. No.
Oh no, I'm on
Everything was
20.
6. 6 was his lowest too. But everything was in single digits other than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Amon-Ra had double-digit targets for, out of those games, he had, let me see, double-digit targets in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, I mean, two extra games, more than in double-digit. All I'm saying is that for me, the offense revolves around St. Brown. And it does the same thing in Cleveland or in Cincinnati. So
Yeah, it revolves around.
you're getting a great player either way. If you want someone consistent,
Yeah, we're splitting
Amon-Ra.
hairs here.
No,
obviously.
I agree.
Yeah.
But
We're talking about one of the top 4 picks and
oh no, it's
top 5 picks. Yeah.
Exactly. It's the type of player that you're looking for. So
Great
let's
question,
move on.
Z Money Man. Hopefully
Let's go
you're
with
subscribed to us. That's a new name for me here, Z Money
that's a new
XV. Maybe
one,
you've been here when I haven't been here, but hopefully hit that subscribe button for us, man. If you guys are watching, hit that subscribe button here on Get Right Fantasy Network. Make sure you guys get in the description as well. Throw a sub to our boys, Kendall and Phil over at the Fantasy Football Tavern and the Extra Point. Go support their channels, man. They're giving some great content throughout the whole season. If you can, Kendall, drop your link in the chat, man, so these guys can just have a quick and easy way. We'll make it as easy as we can for them to sub to your guys' channels. We got my boy Ray W in the house. What up, Ray?
Yeah.
Fellow Niner fan here. What up? Bang bang.
No, Ray is not he is a Giants fan.
What? I thought Ray loves my Niners too.
No, he is a Giants fan. I know that.
Is he undercover with me? Are you sure?
He used
You're
to
not
have
gonna mix
Saquon
up
as
with-
his thing. I'm being dead serious.
No way.
Ray,
Oh,
you're
maybe he's
listening.
just piping
If
me
you're
up. I thought
listening,
Ray was
tell
my
him.
Niners fan.
Tell
He
him.
might be like you. Maybe he's an undercover Niner fan.
Giants,
like you over
bro. Giants.
there. Damn.
Told you.
Ray,
Anyway.
we're not friends anymore, my guy. But you can always come watch the Niners whenever you want. Damn, you're right. My bad. Who am I thinking of then?
Hey, I'm trying to get his question here. He's got a
Oh,
question.
go ahead.
He says keep 4. So we're keeping 4.
He said
We're
keep
going.
4 and list 4 players.
Well,
I know
Who's
he asked
out?
5, but go ahead.
so
Who you
Hurts,
got, Kendall?
Bijan, Laporta, Waddle, and Debo. Who are you kicking out of that? Oh my God.
To me, that's an easy Debo
Keep 4.
as the Niners fan.
Yeah. I'm going Waddle.
This is the same format, right? This is as we're drafting, right?
No, I'm assuming it's full PPR. He didn't really give us any context of what.
I just always assume it's 12 team.
Yeah, 12
full
team,
PPR,
full PPR.
6 point
go
per
with that.
passing touchdowns. That's like my default, and we
Yeah.
got to do a better job of asking that. But yeah, when you
No.
guys ask your questions, make sure you throw the settings
tell
and scoring in
everybody.
there if you want a little more accurate description. But go ahead. To me, it's Debo. Where are you guys at? Almost any format.
I'm throwing Laporta out or Hurts or both of them.
It's between Waddle and Debo for me, and I'm probably gonna lean Waddle.
And I mean, like at their ADP is kind of what I'm looking at it like.
Yeah, who knows where you had him
full,
kept though?
full
Like,
PPR, 4-point passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
So in this
sure,
case,
Laporta
we're
he got
pulling-
as a steal last year.
Yeah, this point, I mean,
Debo.
you got to keep Hurts in there for the 4-point passing touchdown.
We'll see. I got major question marks about Hurts.
You want to know something funny? I'm in that boat too. With not
Look,
him
they
going-
have a
he's
new
not gonna
center.
Go back up.
That's
Yeah.
a big deal.
Oh,
Saquon Barkley,
huge.
they have an actual goal line
Huge.
back that can
Yeah.
do it all. that's a pretty big deal. I
Yeah,
think when
why
you combine
hurt
those two
Hurts?
factors, look, if they decide to fundamentally go away from the tush push 50% of the time, that could take Hurts from 20 touchdowns to 10 over a slight change in the offense. And I don't think anyone is talking about the floor that we have seen from the Eagles offense at times when Hurts is just broken. And as an owner of AJ Brown, I have definitely seen how that can be. I think Saquon smooths everything out, but the reason I'm high on Saquon has to take away from something else. And I do not think remotely that Hurts is as safe as we've seen over the last 2 years.
Oh, I completely agree with that. If you take away, let's just say you take away, like Josh Allen is his own, person. He got 15 rushing touchdowns. Fine. You take Jalen Hurts. How many of those tush pushes were those touchdowns out of the 15? What, like 10, I'd assume? So let's cut that in half, make it 5. So he'll have 10 less touchdowns in his particular stat line, roughly. Mm-hmm. I don't see him being any higher than like QB5, maybe 6, if you take out all those particular touchdowns. He's not a great passer. He's really not a fantastic passer.
Yeah, he's closer to Tua in that his wide receivers are absolutely
completely
elite,
agree.
And they do a lot for him.
He is Tua. He is, I wouldn't say Tua light. I think Tua is Hurts light, if you want to put it that way. Like I don't believe in Jalen Hurts. I don't believe in what he is other than his rushing upside. I get it. You guys all know me in the context of what I like to look for in a quarterback. Classic. But
we're also talking the guy who doesn't like Lamar Jackson either. So.
Yeah, I don't like Lamar either. But I liked Lamar.
So
I like
no to
Lamar
whatever else
better.
you're gonna say.
But I like Lamar better now with his ADP because he's actually, at a reasonable price. He was a pain because everyone, let's go. No, like he wasn't passing for what he was. His passing numbers went up significantly. He passed for over 3,000 yards or 3,500 yards. And on top of that, he passed for over 20 touchdowns and ran for 800. I told you, as long as he levels out what he does, he can be a better asset. He is not somebody that can go, like, you don't want him to turn into Justin Fields where he's running for 1,000 yards and passing for less than 2,500. It just the numbers don't work. So I've just never been a fan of those guys because they haven't been they haven't been able to put up their passing numbers the way that they should. Jalen Hurts is a guy that I don't believe in. I know. Continue.
All right, so I'm going to say no to everything you guys just said. I'll be the devil's advocate here with Jalen Hurts. I mean, ever since he kind of broke out here and took command of this offense, he hasn't thrown for less than 3,000 yards. Classic. So let's get that straight.
That's fine.
There first and foremost. Even doing so, he's still been in between 7 and 8 or 6 and 800 yards rushing on top of that. Obviously, the rushing touchdowns are going to come and go, depending on how that goes. But he's continuing to improve as a passer. Obviously, with the 15 touchdowns last year, still throwing for 3,800 yards. You could say the 15 touchdowns had to do with that, something to do with that because when you're turning the ball over, now you need to, produce a little more. You can't play a little more ball control. But I think with the teams that they're going to be facing this year, I mean, it's just, I don't see how he's going to finish really less than a top 3 quarterback and has the ability to push with his weapons for that QB1 overall. I mean, he's very close to you could say he had a down year last year and still finished as the QB2 overall, almost 3,900 passing yards and 600 rushing yards. On an average of about 150 attempts, still, I don't think that's going to go anywhere. You can say, there could be regression with the rushing touchdowns because the whole tush push thing and things like that. Or you can say the addition of Saquon Barkley is going to open that up even more, the middle of the field for him to be able to take off on those QB draws and things like that. So you could see him, doing more, plus having someone like Saquon as a receiving threat could add and get him over that 4,000 mark as well. So we could easily see somebody that can throw for 4,200 yards, 20 to 30 passing touchdowns, and still be in that, 700, 800 yard rushing, if things are going. And the biggest name I didn't hear any of you guys mention as a difference to this offense this year is the addition of Kellen Moore. I mean, he's always been one of the top producing offensive coordinators there. He's going to be pass heavy. We've seen what he's done with Dak. There in that offense, obviously going with the Chargers last year, didn't maybe work out quite well over there with the injuries and the talent he had. But the last time he had even somewhat similar talent with this, I mean, you could argue that this is the best talent he's had, from top to bottom in an offense, regardless of Kelsey being gone. Could be one of the top offenses this year. He was why Kellen Moore is one of the big reasons why I was all over Keenan Allen last year, why I was all over Justin Herbert. He's the one who got me these belts and these rings that you saw in the beginning of the show.
I'm high on AJ Brown. I think he's the guy.
I mean, I just think the sky's the limit with this offense. I think they have something to prove. Coming out of it and having a chip on your shoulder is a big thing. I think Hurts can easily push for QB1 overall this year, and you're getting him as like the QB3 or 4 off the board. And especially something like this going in the 4th round, that's not too bad. I like him more like maybe in the 5th or 6th if you can get him there. But he, to me, has that upside. I mean, he goes as the QB2 in this draft, and I think that's even a little early. I've gotten him in the 5th or 6th round still in one QB.
Mm-hmm. And don't hear what I'm not saying, right? One of my things is I don't think in a typical format you can go with both of your onesies and make it work all the time. I think in a really sharp lobby, it's going to be very difficult for that to work out the way you want, or you're going to have to pass up on a player. I just don't like 2 onesies early. And this year in particular, I'm much more comfortable with a later quarterback and grabbing one of the. Particularly, I want one of the top 4 or 5. If Kincaid's going 5, he's kind of my tier break. I'm also comfortable if I have Kittle is kind of my teardrop, my last tier of. I still think his points per game and his ceiling upside in that offense. Kittle is where I still think Kittle can finish around where like a McBride finishes, right? And I think that's fine value. Ferguson's a good backstop too. I definitely don't mind that at all. I think Ferguson's like upside plays. I just think like the Dallas offense is projected to be not nearly what San Fran typically is for like a touchdown upside. So, but it's close, right? They go within a round. So if I know I have if I'm in the early half of the draft and I know I can probably get Kittle at the 6-7 turn, right? So that's a thing. I'm just not into Hurts because I like the tight end position early, and I think the difference between the points per game that it Hurts at QB2 is going to have towards that next tier of like CJ Stroud, Kyler, Joe Burrow. I think the actual, at the end of the day, points is going to be closer because all those offenses got significantly better, and Hurts might still finish as like the QB2 or 3, but the VOR, the value over replacement, I think is going to come down significantly to a point where that's why we used to go late QB back in the day, because that was a way to win your league by simply saying, hey, I'm going to get a value here.
That was when there was a bunch of guys like Stafford and guys like that. I mean, right now we have such an influx
that were
of
passing for 4,500 yards.
But again, we have this hybrid now of all these rushing quarterbacks, which have basically almost broken fantasy. Like before, there only used to be Lamar, or like there was only like 1 or 2 rushing guys where you can be like, I'm just going to fade that guy because I don't want to take that risk if he gets hurt. Then now, your upside, you're dropping such, like Kendall was saying, that value over replacement or replacement value, whatever fancy term you use there, Kendall. Your replacement guy that you'd have for that. Now you're getting someone off the wire who's not going to compete with all those guys who are, the pocket passers. But now that we have so many of these hybrid type guys, your Josh Allens, your Hurts, your Kylers, even Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, like these top 5-6 guys. Anthony Richardson. How do I, forget someone like that? Who we've just kind of maybe seen
because he only played 4 games.
Exactly, and that's the other side of it, right? But the upside is these guys break fantasy. Like the way the scoring is set up, they literally are cheat codes, like guys like CMC. So again, it all depends on how you're building your roster, right? So again, like you were saying earlier, if you're going to take someone like Hurts or take one of these rushing quarterbacks, make sure you don't have a lot of risk in maybe some of these other positions that you feel are going to be solid, so that you can absorb, something like that. But of course, if you're spinning up with someone like Hurts, you can follow it up with someone like Stafford or one of these 4,500-yard passers, potentially with good weapons, later, just to have that in case he does miss a game or 2. And hopefully you're only missing maybe a couple points per game. But again, sometimes, like we say on the extra point, that 1 point could be the difference between a win or a loss. So when it comes down to it, you want that upside. Like Victorious was saying here, give me Chase all day over Amon-Ra because upside is king. And I think that's the key of it is when we're like, for me, again, you're classic for a reason. And I guess I'm Rasta for a reason, because to me, if you're not first, you're last. That's how I like to play, but that's what makes fantasy work. Because you have guys that have different philosophies, in ways they want to build teams. And so again, for me, I like, high risk, high reward. Give it to me. I'm willing to take that chance and bet on my research and hopefully it comes through. And that's how you can finish like 42nd place. And we know with somebody like Underdog that we have up in the corner here. Otherwise, you might finish last like I did in our Ambassador League. So it does happen. My first last place finish, by the way,
mine
ever,
too.
in like my 20 plus years of fantasy football, is the first time I ever finished last place in a league was last year.
Me too. Our listener league, I was last, and I knew it didn't feel right.
I had one of my best years and worst years all in the same year.
I was focused on 2-3 teams that were like I have 8, or no, I had 7 last year, and those 7 were like all in championship rounds. So I was like, I got to focus. But no, I agree. For me, I'm more like Kendall. I aim for like the middle of what I'm looking for. I rather roll with a guy like Stroud, Prescott, even wait for guys like Goff and Purdy. I mean, for me, those guys have the ability to finish at the end of the year in the top 10, and they're effective. They're guys that will win you weeks and keep you steady. You're not dependable on them. They're guys that you can set and forget, and they're easy to go. You don't even have to stream, and they're pretty solid. So I understand guys like Allen, Hurts, Lamar. Those guys are always they break fantasy because of their rushing stats. Of course. I mean, Dak didn't even rush for what? He didn't rush for 250, and he still put up QB3 number like at the end of the year. So, and that, I mean, granted, he didn't have Kellen Moore last year. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't mind those guys because they're just a little bit more consistent. I understand the high. I mean, believe me, I have Josh Allen on a bunch of teams. I've had Lamar here and there in different situations, but the teams that I see that do a little bit better are the teams that I have that have guys like, that have those guys like Jared Goff or guys like Baker or guys like, Brock Purdy, who are consistent and do what they need to do. They get the job done. They're the blue collar guys that are always they're never going to give you a week where you're sitting there like, I got 2 points out of this guy, because other times those other guys,
the one time you want to start Derek Carr and he gives you like 1 point.
Exactly. So
that happened to me, of course.
Yeah.
A bye-week filler, throw him in there, 1 point.
So, but that's my point. I'd rather have those guys, and I'm not investing as much, and it's in that dead zone that we, where those guys that are there, you might want to take, you're better off having the QB in that particular scenario. So for me, I prefer doing it Kendall's way, comparative, like in the context of going for the lower guys. I don't like aiming for the Allens and Hurtses of the world, unless it's, Dynasty or something like that. But I prefer the middle round guys. Yeah, I might be classic and be very consistent, but we've had this conversation 100 times. I'm consistently where I need to be, because when you try to have that boom bust guy and they fail, I am always going to beat you. Always. So
I'll throw one more quick thing out there, because I think every year it changes a little bit. Like, I'll steel man like your Hurts argument. I think you have to look at your particular rankings across the board. There's a better case for going earlier, elite / secure, probably both, at the quarterback position if you have several, according to ADP, targets that you feel are mispriced. Not just 1 or 2, my guys, but like you like an entire tier of mispriced players where that in the range where you would be taking that later quarterback, you would actually rather be taking, a particular player of value. Like for me, I think Curtis Samuel is a little bit mispriced and undervalued, potentially is more valuable than Coleman in some particular ways, right? I like Jalen Polk goes in could be the wide receiver one for a bad team. There's enough of these targets for me. Jacoby Myers going in the 12th. I mean, I could just list a couple of like guys that I'm very, very comfortable with, and I think they're mispriced.
Yeah.
And so in those years where like, look, I can go 2 entire rounds and know I will have a target. I will reach half a round and be very, very comfortable. It's in those cases where I'm like, yeah, I should take, an Allen or a Hurts, because I find different pockets of value later on where that's not the case every year. Or like particularly at RB. I think we all like Hero RB. I think it's become kind of the consensus sort of favorite build this year in particular over zero RB. Obviously in half PPR format, you really shouldn't be going zero RB anyways. But with Hero RB, I've found that there's a particular structure that I do like taking an early quarterback and sometimes fitting in that tight end. And it's because if you go true Hero RB, I think I can skip the dead zone entirely, make up with your Jaden Reeds that go, like you said, mispriced at the 512, right? Yeah. You're starting to hit kind of a dead zone where I would much rather take, Calvin Ridley and these players instead of that entire range of running backs. I'm liking that quite a bit. So I'm also really liking the tier of running backs just after the dead zone. I like that I can get Eckler, Ford, Moss, Chase Brown, basically in the 9th to 10th. And because of that, combined with, 9 through 12, I like several running back targets there that I think are mispriced. I like several wide receivers there that are mispriced. I'm going to have to end up taking a quarterback I think is a value over another player I think is a value. So I'm value owning myself a little bit by not securing that early positional onesie that I think would have helped me out quite a bit. And so in those builds, if my draft is going optimal, I probably do end up with a little bit of an early quarterback. So that's my case for. And for me, that's I got to decide if I'm pulling the trigger on Richardson. I like him so much. I'm comfortable taking him as early as like the late 4th, where if I want him, I can get him there pretty much 10 out of 10, and people aren't getting him there. That's kind of what I'm enjoying this year in particular. And so the drafts I can start out with Brees or Bijan, end up with him, and then I can take Kittle in the late 6th, early 7th, and then I like all of my targets at that point at wide receiver and running back, and I can just run the board from there. That's a very ideal build for me, which has to result in going with an early quarterback. So if that's a build that you like, that's just how the draft board is falling according to ADP right now. And I think there's just players that are just a little bit grossly mispriced. That's based on like offense projections too, right? Like you don't have to like Zach Moss or Chase Brown to know that the Bengals should be a good offense. And you don't have to know anything about the player. Just know that players on good offenses tend to have good range of outcomes. That's just how the cookie crumbles.
For sure. Rafi says, should I just staple the belt to my wall or what? So he went Bijan 101, Ayuk, DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, Godwin, gets Murray still here in the 6th. Well done. Stevenson, Hero RB build. Gets Samuel, who you mentioned here. Brock Bowers might have been his worst pick, I think, here. But he still ended up with Fairmouth at 13-1, so it kind of just sets that out. I mean, that just evens that out. To me, Fairmouth is like maybe you could say a poor man's Ferguson, if you will. Going to be second on the team, just not part of the, second in targets on the team, but just not on as expected a high power of offense. So, and then of course, just, hammers here with some rookie running backs, but still having Stevenson. So I like what he did there. I understand the thought process. Obviously he watches us a lot. Not to mention he's good. He's good on his own, regardless of watching us too. So we'll see what happens, man. We will be announcing these winners, the top 3 that advance on Monday's show. So this will not show up over the weekend. You will have to tune in live on Monday to see if you advance to the finale. So make sure you guys do that. But I just had to give our reigning champion a little screen time there for him calling his shot. So let's see. So just wrapping up some stuff here in the chat, and then we'll kind of call it a show. We're not too bad. We hitting this hour mark here. They flew through this mock. Even at 1 minute picks, man, these guys are, again, they're the top 12 of this whole week, so they know what they're doing here. They're not sitting around draining the whole clock. So appreciate you guys for doing that. Ray's just saying it was interesting. He thought most people would say Laporta. Reason I didn't personally is because I assume you got Laporta with such a great value in a keeper league last year that you almost have to take him just because it's such a great value, regardless of, there. I just think, Debo compared to where he's going now, you could find someone kind of to replace that. type production, whereas I don't think you're replacing Hurts, and Waddle is huge for me, and you're not getting rid of Bijan if you have a chance to keep him. So, and like Rafi called his shot here at the 101, thinking he's going to be.
I was going to ask you about that. I saw that, and I'm like, how do you guys feel about that?
That's all you right there, man. Scott Fishbowl taking Bijan 103 and Scott Fish with an ADP of like 108. I still am shocked that you did that. But he says his take at the 101 Bijan will be used like CMC, and he's the healthier, younger guy. So I'll bet on him, even though he loves CMC. So pretty much that sums up exactly what you told me via text. And we've literally heard it from his own mouth saying that he's going to be the CMC.
Remember this. If you go and look at the past like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, doesn't matter. Who was the RB1 in 2022? Take a guess.
Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, no, it was Austin Eckler. Let's go to 2021. Was it
that
Austin
was Jonathan
Eckler?
Taylor.
There you go.
It was Jonathan Taylor. What about 2020? Was it Jonathan Taylor? Nope, Alvin Kamara. 2019, who was it? Oh, it was Christian McCaffrey. Okay, so he's done it once. Okay, cool. That's fine. But did he do it 2 years in a row? No, he did not. He got hurt.
He finished first and second.
And then first and second. Okay, great. But did he finish the same every year? No. And this one, I could give him credit because of the concept that it was like 0.3 off. So, okay, maybe his rookie season as well in 2018, fine. Whatever. But he didn't do it back to back.
Basically.
He didn't do it.
Basically.
I think it's less of a player take for me, though, man. It's more, you got to be really into the Atlanta offense. It's not just like they're going to use him like CMC. There's so many teams that have tried to use a player like another player, but if the offense isn't that good, their entirety of what they can project for that player just goes down. So you have to really like that Atlanta's going to turn it around. And we said this about Denver when they got top talent with a bunch of new coaching and new pieces. It was going to be great. We say this about teams every year. You think it's going to work. We're not elite at calling like how teams are going to finish, but Vegas is usually pretty good at predicting how offenses are going to be, and Atlanta's projecting to be outside the top 10 in terms of offenses. So that's why I'm going to go with CMC, just as like I don't understand fantasy football. I just know that Vegas says that CMC should have it's correlated, right? Usually a top 5 and a top 12 running back. I forget what show did it recently. I think maybe Mason over at Fantasy Flock did it, but they just correlated like specifically at the running back. You just need a good offense and usually a pretty decent defense. I think CMC is also helped by the fact that his defense can turn the ball over pretty much at will, where Atlanta's kind of middle of the road. But
say more.
I'll tell you what, I'll take Bijan over Chase and Amon. We had the Chase Amon-Ra situation. I think the answer is door number 3. It's Bijan. In half PPR, I'm taking Bijan over those two wide receivers, though.
I could see that argument there. I'd probably still take Chase over Bijan in a 3 wide receiver half PPR, but 2 wide receiver, 2 flex half PPR. If I'm in like that 4 spot, Chase or Bijan, I think I might go Bijan there. So can
I give another quick little thing on Atlanta?
Classic, this is your show. You can do whatever you want.
There, thank you. So just to give you a little bit of perspective.
I love you guys so much.
They're bringing back all 5 starting linemen for Atlanta. As much as you guys, they could have these guys in certain spots or whatever, right now PFF ranks them at 6th. That's not an easy task to have when you are one above based on these rankings. They're one above the Chiefs. Now, I understand Chiefs are a whole different offense, blah, blah, blah. The whole thing is that Atlanta has a decent line. They just brought in weapons where they do have guys like Drake London.
Look at all the Algier. I mean, Algier balled out last year. Like, yeah, they could run the ball. That wasn't a question. They just couldn't throw the ball.
Exactly. And that's the point.
Now we've never doubted the line.
But no, people doubted the line because of the concept that they were playing poorly with the poor quarterback play.
Facing the whole 9-man boxes.
And that's now not going to happen. And that's
not at all.
Point. And that's the whole point I'm trying to make, is that this offense and what they have gathered and what they have done have made it to the point where, one, they have insurance. Now, the pick for Penix, you can argue was a horrible pick, but they have insurance. and he's been doing pretty well in camp considering. On top of all that, they now have weapons with Drake, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. They have decent depth with guys like Darnell Mooney. I love this offense moving forward.
Did you just say Darnell Mooney?
Yeah, Darnell Mooney is on the Falcons.
I know that.
Wide
You said a
receiver
good
too, baby.
piece? What was that whole sentence again?
He's a good
It's a
depth
good piece. Don't be hating on my Darnell Mooney.
I
baby.
love Darnell
Go there.
Mooney. Oh my God.
Biggest
The
steal
guy
in
is
that
such
part.
an underrated route runner. If you've ever watched his tape, he burns people 90% of the time. The only reason why he didn't do well
Darnell
is because
Mooney?
Justin
We're talking
Fields-
about the same
Yes,
guy?
Yes.
Dude, Darnell Mooney is a different version of Juju. Remember when Juju was the badass wide receiver?
Oh my God, no.
When he was a wide receiver 1, he just couldn't cook.
You know who he
Darnell
reminds
Mooney
Oh,
me
is
like
of?
when he had AJ Brown next to him? Oh yeah.
He reminds me.
that.
He reminds me a lot.
The best
of
wide
Deontay
receiver in the
Johnson.
game. Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of Deontay Johnson in route running, or like Calvin Ridley. They both have very quick first steps, and they're very good at just breaking off the route and doing what they need to get open. He is a zone killer. He is not a 9 route guy. He can run any of the freaking route tree you can. He is a great wide receiver. It's just he never was utilized with Justin Fields. I think he's going to be utilized well with Kirk Cousins. Well, and that's the whole point. Kirk Cousins is a field general that can pass the ball and get to the ball accurately to where he needs to be. He's going to see a guy like Darnell and go, "Oh shit, wide open!" Like this guy, I'm telling you, Darnell is a sneaky grab for a lot of teams. But I am all in on Atlanta. I feel like they are going to have a really good season this year. They could probably take. Yeah, I think they could probably take the NFC South.
I want to see when a movie.
I could take the
by the end of the
NFC
year.
South. Who are we talking about over there?
They were all 9 and 7.
Carolina, Atlanta. Who else is over there? The Saints and Derek
Steel
Carr.
man in a Falcons.
David
take,
Carr.
man.
And
I'm in
Tampa
on
and
the
Baker,
Falcons,
shake and
the
bake.
Lions, the Texans.
Come on, man.
Let's go. All 3 of those teams. I want to see all those teams in the playoffs.
I like it. I you know what? I don't.
How come
I
you
don't
said
hate
San
it.
Francisco 49ers so weird?
When did I say 49? Oh,
Just saying you mispronounced it.
yeah. That's the only reason why they're currently not on the thumbnails, because I'm sick and tired of putting them on the thumbnail.
I know. Everybody hate us. He hate me. It's all good. It's all good. I love to be hated. It's a good thing.
I was looking for semifinal. I was looking for I was looking for just AFC or NFC championship. Just one of a players.
Yeah, I know you
ended
trolled me
up-
with the thumbnail this week. You notice how I didn't say anything like good thumbnail this week. I was just like, all right, let's just throw
But
this
I
out
laughed
there. It
because
works, but
I
I don't want to talk about it.
I laughed because I looked and the first thing I saw is a San Francisco, like it was CMC holding it up or Brock Purdy holding it up. And I laughed and I'm like, for the last 4 weeks, I have put a San Francisco 49er on our thumbnail. And I'm like, I am not doing this for anything other than they're in the news at this point. So I'm like, I'm just trying to. I was like, I couldn't do it again.
Keep it
Couldn't do
coming.
it.
Keep it coming. Oh man, that's good stuff. Anyway, man, we're past our hour now, man. We got to talk a lot of good stuff right there. It was fun. It was nice to just talk football, man. We weren't in the process of like mocking or
Did you guys watch
thinking
the game
about what
yesterday?
pick is coming out. I watched like first part of it. I kind of just hit the highlights. I was at work, as you guys know, crazy day at work. And then by the time I finally did get home and saw it was canceled, so I just kind of went in and watched a little bit of it. Watched the kickoff, of course. I wanted to see how that looked, which doesn't seem like it's going to be as big time as we thought. Maybe it's just because the guys who were returning or whatever. But like, I don't know why the guys just ran into the line. Like, why not run where the whole field is completely open over here? But that's just a whole
preseason
different
football
take. But yeah,
was a prescriptive of how the NFL gets played. I wouldn't be an NFL fan, man.
Yeah.
that is true.
Right?
That is
You
true.
got
That is true.
you got to take that down.
The best highlight was the CJ Stroud and Steph Diggs LeBron handshake, which was pretty cool with the powder. I like that. So
that was
that
the
was
most talent I
good.
saw on the field
Him
all
and-
day. Yeah.
Him
The only
and
thing that-
Tank and Diggs. So that was interesting.
The only
Nico
thing
wasn't
that
in
is-
that handshake though.
The one player-
Time, man.
Yeah, I agree. Give it.
Devin
give it
Hester
a
was
minute.
like, "I'll go run a train on this right now, no problem, in sandals with
Yeah,
what's
I saw
going on
that.
here."
Oh, jeez.
The one guy that I really liked that I've been high on prior, Xavier Hutchinson, man. He looked good. He looked solid. They
Hey, he's sitting in my taxi in like 5 leagues right now.
Oh, me too. I have him all over the place. Him and John
I was all over him, and then they went and got Diggs, and then Nico actually turned out, and I was like, damn it. Thought I was going to be, thought I was sitting pretty with Tank and Hutchinson there, but
100%.
Maybe one more year.
But he looked good. He looked pretty solid, and honestly, the Bears looked pretty solid too. They ran out. If you didn't notice, they ran out Roshan Johnson first, and then Khalil Herbert. So
they're showcasing him. One of them's going to be traded.
I know that that was where I was going.
Showcasing Herbert. Herbert's going to be in Dallas, guys.
Well, no, I know that's.
Yeah, I was going to say, dude, I've already bought Roshan and Khalil everywhere I can because I think the trade happens, man. But
several best ball shares there.
DeAndre Swift's RB2 just has a history of scoring double-digit touchdowns. I'm telling you, that's going to to be Roshan this year.
There we go. All right, man.
So Dallas? No, Dallas sponsor. Jerry is just a moron.
What up, Dustin? How's it going, my guy? Good to have you, man. Good to see you still hanging in there.
Would they
get
rather
get your ranks in?
Oh yeah, the one guy. Anyway,
good stuff, bro. Good to see him in there. Good to see him. So there we go. Saying what up.
Would he prefer Khalil Herbert or a Zeke that can't run through that machine? You guys see that?
I thought it got like hit the balls or something, didn't he?
It did, yeah.
Like one of the cones hit him in the nuts. Yeah, he's like, let me go sit up the side over here.
Oh,
that's too. Gotta love training camp, man. And then the Ayuk hug. Like we're reporting on hugs now in training camp. Like I love the comments, man. The comments are undefeated on Twitter or X or whatever you call it.
A few of my guys that I follow a lot, like Jordan Lupe. Always follow that guy. If you're not following him, you should. He makes me laugh every time. He is. Yeah, I was going to tell you to bring that up, but you were wrapping up.
Were we talking about his team?
No, we did not talk about his team. But if you want to talk about his team real quick, because I'm the only one that won't be on that show on Monday, I don't mind this team. We'll see.
Quarterback a little early. We'll see how it ranks out.
I don't hate
you guys.
I don't
it's
hate
the McLaurin. The McLaurin pick is just screaming at me.
No, it's not the McLaurin pick that's screaming at me.
That should have been Jaden Reed right there, and that team would have been a banger after
Calvin
that.
Ridley.
No, I don't mind his team. There's it's.
No, you love those safe. Average guys. Classic. You just love those average guys.
Hold on. Let's just be clear. I think it's a very safe team. I think it's a very good team, but it's definitely, it might not be in my top 6, but it is definitely a team that I don't mind. I think the 0 RB build is actually good, and you got the right running back for it, and you picked a couple of really good guys for it. Yeah, I don't hate it. I would see. Yeah,
we'll put that to the test on Monday. Check in on Monday. So appreciate you, AB is King, man. Appreciate you. Always been here. I think he's been in the mock tournament now for 3 years, going strong with us, man. We got Rafi, the reigning champ, the mock draft champ, in here. You guys are amazing as usual. Another banger Friday, man. Appreciate it. Got Neanderthal in here saying great show, fellas, man. So there we go. And Dustin said he knew that was coming. He agrees with me. It was a nut shot for sure. So let's end on that one. So, I mean,
that's going to be me after a 9-hour car ride with my wife.
That was hilarious. I did see that tweet.
The guy, I'm like, I don't think people understood the concept. My wife will probably, by the end of it, hit me in the nuts at one point because it's going to be a fun ride.
Oh, you put anybody in a car for 9 hours and those kind of things might happen.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. All right, man. So let's get out of here, man. Before we do, we got to let you guys know the people that made this possible here tonight, man. Make sure you guys go out and support our boys over at UnderdogFantasy.com. For those of you guys who don't know Underdog Fantasy, it is the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports from their best ball draft tournaments, which means you basically draft your team. No season-long commitment, no waivers, no trades. And no setting your lineup each week. It'll be done automatically. It's how I was able to draft. I think it was 69 teams. I hate saying 69, so I'll say 70. 70 teams last year. I didn't do that on purpose. It just happened to count it, and that's what it ended up being. But I was able to place in the Chihuahua 42nd out of over 70,000 of you guys have heard,
There you
turning
go.
my $4 entry into $400. So I hope to do a little better here this year. They also have their pick'em contests, which are great once the season gets started. You get to pick higher or lower on different player stats, like, yards, touchdowns. They even have the rivalry picks, which are really fun. You can have two players against each other, and the guy will get maybe like, plus 10, receiving yards, and you're choosing between two receivers. So those are real fun as well.
Oh, we lost you. We lost you. Your wire came out. Your wire came out. Your mic wire.
Can't hear
You can't hear me. You lost right in the middle of it.
He's
right
saying finish
middle.
it. All right,
I'll
Classic.
finish it.
Come on, be professional here.
Yeah. Well,
Niners fans are just the worst, dude.
I know.
They're just the worst.
They're so bad. Anyway,
Killing them
so
rooms,
make
really
sure you
fun.
guys check out Get Right Fantasy. Make sure you guys, Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you guys are using the promo code Get Right. When you do, they will match up to half of what you put in. So if you put in 5, they're going to give you 10. So make sure and it will go up to $250. So make sure you guys are doing that. It helps support the show. And I love Underdog. I'm going to give Ant a couple minutes to try to get his butt back here just so that he can say goodnight, because I know he won't be happy if he doesn't. There he is. Nope. You're not back. I'm sorry.
Hey, in the meantime, man, thanks everyone.
At least
for
he
coming
made
to hang
a
out
full
in chat, by the way. Yeah.
At least he made a full show.
Classic.
Look at
I
that.
assume that you have like major producer powers, and you just like pull the cord at an hour 20.
Oh, right there. Boom.
You pulled the Oscar music on him. Is that how this went down?
Yeah, that definitely happened here. Jeff, man, what's going on? Awesome show. Great way to end a Friday night is not listening to Rasta speak anymore.
Appreciate you,
I
Jeff.
love you, brother. I love you. All right, boys and girls, we're going to wrap this thing up. I know he wants to say all these wonderful, great things. Make sure, of all things, you check out Underdog Fantasy and use promo code Get Right. Help support the show. So please make sure you guys are doing that. Make sure you check out Ant and his belts. That's all he really cares about. He wants to make sure that you know that he won those belts and that ring. And you know what? You might as well, if you're looking at this point in the year, I mean, come on. You guys are looking to get your trophies all settled up. Make sure you guys go to trophysmack.com, man. Look at that. You can get one of those 2 belts. Those are custom made belts. You can customize like a ring like this. I mean, come on now. You can even get a Kirk Cousins chain, all customized. And for those, I mean, Tycoon, who is in the chat currently, he went. Dustin, I muted him. Sorry, that's funny. We had Tycoon he ended up going to the Trophy Smack headquarters for his Scotty Fishbowl draft. He will be the first to tell you that place is the best. They are great people all around. He was lucky enough to have Hayden Hurst at his particular draft. Lucky bastard. So make sure you guys are checking out trophysmack.com as well. Use promo code Get Right, and they will help you out at checkout. All right, boys and girls, we're going to wrap this thing up. It's great having everybody here. Thank you so much for joining us for this semifinal mock. What did he do? So, look at that. Tycoon going Trophy Smack rules. No, I know you can do things behind the scenes, but stop. Anyway, we'll see you guys all later. Kendall, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate it. Always love having you here. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. Phil, we miss you. I hope you're doing okay. We want to see you soon. So I know he was recording today. Make sure you guys check out Phil at the Extra Point. Make sure you guys check out Kendall at the Fantasy Football Tavern, as well as you want him to
Yeah. I love throw me center stage. Been waiting.
Go for it, Kendall.
Yeah. So if you don't know, I think most of you do. But if you haven't yet, come check me out at the Fantasy Football Tavern. If you're a big fan of this mock draft tournament, which of course you are, you should be. It's awesome. Hanging out with us is also pretty awesome too. I am going to be over the next couple of days. It's probably going to go in early next week, but I'm going to do a video for every single draft pod in this entire tournament. So a lot of them aren't going to be live. There's going to be breakdowns and recaps. I'm going to share my personal rankings, why I voted each player or each our team the way I did. I'll happily pop up on screen. I'll get permission from Rasta and Classic and the guys, and we'll let you know how everyone kind of did and that sort of thing. So should be pretty fun. So if you're in this and or if you are planning on jumping into one of the future pods and you want to know how to game the system, right? It's in the rules. We are extremely subjective about how we're judging this, but we are also telling you in every one of our shows who we like, why we like them. So definitely check out those videos. You're going to get a little peek inside the curtain. It's legal cheating. You can figure out how we're grading this, how each of us are kind of weighting it. I'll give you my personal takes. A good way to get an edge as we go into Superflex week next week. Come check me out. Fantasy Football Tavern. Cold beers, hot takes. Here we go.
There we go. And also make sure you guys, if you haven't already, write down in the description, we have our private sleeper channel. This is where you can be a part of these particular mocks if you haven't already. So make sure you guys click the link, join our particular private sleeper channel. We have not only just this in season, I try to keep up on all the latest news as well. So, injury news, keep you guys updated. So make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you guys are a part of that great community. We have a wonderful group of people that are always willing to talk fantasy football or just football. Everyone just loves just talking ball in there. So it's a great little community. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you so much. Make sure you guys check them out. Of course, these are our guys right here. Good old Kendall and Phil. So for Kendall, Phil, for this mute down here, Dustin, Frank, everybody, Tycoon, man, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your weekend. We will see you next time.
Hit that outro.
Peace.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking nothing but I tune every Friday. Strategies provided.